host, Mimosa.
Co-host, Kareem.
Welcome to Sometimes We're Bougie and Sometimes We Hood, to healing, navigating grief. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance. Welcome in. Welcome to Sometimes We're Bougie, Sometimes We're Hood, a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance. I'm your host, Auntie Mimosa.
Hey, this is Cousin Kareem. How's it?
All righty. And whether you're in the depths of grief, slowly learning to live with loss, or supporting someone on their journey, this space is for you. Grief is deeply personal. There's no timeline, no rule book, no right or wrong way to navigate through it. But through shared experiences, honest conversations, and moments of reflection, we can find comfort, understanding, and hope. Grief isn't just something we experience on anniversaries or at funerals. It walks with us in the grocery store, on our morning commute, when we're folding laundry, when we hear a song we didn't expect. Today, we're going to talk about how to live with grief in the ordinary moments of our lives. This is part 2.
Okay.
How it sneaks into the small places and how we can gently make room for it without letting it take away our ability to live fully. So, let's take this hour to slow down together, to reflect, and maybe even to breathe a little easier, knowing we're not alone in this journey.
All right.
Yes. So, on last week's episode, we talked about the same thing, navigating life, dealing with grief. And, we talked about the fact that grief does not have any, it doesn't care, right? We said it doesn't care. It doesn't have, it doesn't care. It shows up when it wants to, when it's triggered. It doesn't care that you have a 9 a.m. meeting. It doesn't care that you have to feed the kids, bills to pay. It just walks with us into every aspect of our lives. It walks with us in everyday living and learning, right? So we know that, like, we're going to talk about, excuse me, when you're at work, right? When you're navigating the life of employment and going to work every day, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're a CEO or a COO, VP, cashier, janitor, it doesn't matter where you are, right?
Yeah.
Or where you are in the employment spectrum. Grief can look like foggy focus, right? Missed deadlines, or
Procrastination.
Procrastination, exactly, right? Crying in the bathroom between meetings. It can show up several ways. Anger, being short with your coworkers or colleagues, right? Lack of patience. That's how it looks when you're navigating through work, employment, forgetting the small details. That's what it could look like. And at work, when you're at work. And the only thing that you can do is say, like, I'm doing my best, but I'm grieving. Some days will be harder. And here's what I can commit to this week. And I'm a firm believer of setting boundaries. And because with each transition, which each loss of a loved one, well, and not even just even with the loved one, but each time there's a transition, whether it's your loved one, whether it's your employment, whether it's rejection, all the past topics that we talked about, regardless of what it is, right? You have to be able to identify it and know what it is that you're experiencing, put a name on it, and say, okay, I recognize what this is. Now how am I going to work through it, right? How am I going to navigate through this? What am I going to do to make sure like I don't lash out? I told the story last Sunday about when I worked for the doctor's office. In fact, when I worked for the infectious disease doctor's office, and I had, Deej transitioned, and I was pretty much waiting for my grandmother to make her transition and dealing with people on the phone. And this, we had a family member of a patient call, and he kept asking for the doctor, and he wanted to go off on me, but I ended up going off on him. And at the end, when he spoke to the doctor, he basically was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I will not do that. I will have more patience, because you never know what somebody is going through at that time. That's why I always say, be kind to one another. Be kind to people, because you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
A colleague of mine recently lost his father, and he's very close to his father. And I can see the anger in him. I see it in him, and transitions and unaliving changes a person. It changes the living. It really does. On several levels. One aspect, it gives you clarity on how short life can actually be. And it awakens your inner ambition, so to speak, your inner ambitions to be like, you know what, everything I said I'm going to do, I'm going to just go ahead and get it done. I'm going to do it. But in that process of moving, grief does have a way of stepping in and interrupting that. It does. It has a way of interrupting it. It has a way of slowing you down sometimes. I know what it looks like on my end. I know what it looks like on my end. And to be honest and transparent with those that are watching and listening, it is a matter of, it is the procrastination sometimes. It is the not wanting to move or to do anything. It is putting on that fake smile or fake, that mask, right? I don't want to say fake, but putting on that mask and going to work every day. And when I get home and close the door, that's another story. There's something that's called functional depression or functional grief, right? And that's, people who have the ability to navigate their day, and you would have no idea what's going on with them. None. No idea what's going on.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. It's like, what I realized as you were just talking is that you have certain careers where everything is set up for you. You go in, you do your opening report, you do this, that. It's all systematically broke down. Those are those times that you get those functional depressions, because you're just going through the mood. But if somebody says a word, that's a spark, then all of a sudden it's just like, and then that's when the depression changes. That's when you might have an outburst of anger towards them, or you might say something, or you might have that outburst of a breakdown, crying or whatever like that. It's like it's something that sparks you. But in those jobs where you are systematically doing stuff, that's when you can, it seems like nothing's happening. But when you got a job where you got to be on your feet like a baker, where everything seems the same, but you might you know, the flour might drop. You know, you might spill some extra flour on the table, and all of a sudden you're like, "What the?" You know what I mean? You're like, I can't believe. You know what I mean? And then it's a whole different story. You know what I mean?
It is
It's
right.
just like you could be a construction worker and
Mhm.
you're nailing down a spike, and you nick your thumb. And you're like, man, I can't believe this day. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, you're like raging out. Everybody's like, what in the world? Like, what? And then you gotta take the time to say, am I going to explain? I'm just going to walk away.
Right.
You know, and if you got a good supervisor, foreman, manager, they'll recognize that, okay, they're acting out the ordinary. This is not a normal prescription of how they deal with everyday goings on.
Right.
And so they might have, hopefully they approach and say, do you need some time? Do you know anything? Or do you want to talk? You know, and I believe that's the mark of a good manager.
No one does that anymore. Like when it comes to employment, my thing, I always ask this question: who decided 3 days was enough for you to grieve the loss of a loved one and return back to the workforce? Who made that decision?
People who are heartless, because they're looking at the bottom line. They're looking at that money. Like, yo, if this dude or everybody decides, you know, to take off, then who am I gonna have to work? I believe it came from the plantation mindset. But you know what I mean? It's like, I can't allow you to sit back. That's where the whole terminology "good morning" came from. People don't really, they just say stuff. They don't understand what they're saying. Cliches became statements, and statements becomes a way of life and a culture. And we don't understand. Like, slave masters should come out and be like, "Good morning." Like, you mourned last night because I just killed your friend, family member, you know, whatever like that. And then here you are now. Oh, I was supposed to say that word, but you're just alive. Yeah, you know, but
it's alive. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's just they try. It's a mocking. It's a mocking. You know, because people say, "Oh, that's what bonjour means." Like, no, if you speak French and Creole, you know, bonjour doesn't mean it means good day. It's not good morning. So every other culture, other places in the world don't say good morning. They say good day.
Right.
We say good morning. For what reason? And nobody, I mean, you got to sit back and question, but that's a whole nother subject. But that's but on the same subject of morning, or, you know,
I don't do that. I refuse to say good morning. I always say grand rising, a joyful day. That is my term. That
exactly. You got me saying it now. I heard you say it for like a couple of years ago. Now I say it, but then I had that revelation about the whole terminology, the original terminology, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be using grand rising, good day. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Yes. So those are my terms that I use. But let's see. So we mentioned functional grief, right? So functional grief is when a person appears to be managing daily responsibilities, working, parenting, socializing, while quietly carrying the weight of grief inside. It's like holding it together for the world while the loss still deeply impacts their inner life, like what's going on in here, in the mind, in the heart. That's what functional grief is, right? So we're going to dive a little deeper into that. So signs of functional grief: keeping busy constantly, using work, chores, or caregiving as a distraction. Look. I stay busy on purpose, okay? Appear strong. Others may say you're handling this so well, even though the person is struggling privately and quietly. Private tears or emotions, right? Crying or breaking down only when alone. I can point the finger at myself because I do not cry in public. I will not cry on this I refuse. I absolutely refuse to cry on this podcast or in public. I have my own moments and I cry in private. difficulty concentrating, forgetfulness, zoning out, or making mistakes at work, right? Physical exhaustion, fatigue, trouble sleeping, or stress-related aches. Myself, I don't sleep very well, fatigued all the time. Stress-related aches, I would say so. Headaches and things like that. I have those. I do have those. Um, Emotionally guarded, avoids deep conversations about loss, changes the subject, or says, I'm fine. I used to do that. Irritability or impatience, heightened stress tolerance, snapping at small things. I would say I'm still there. Most people are like, oh my God, you're so patient. No, you have no idea. Be in the car with me. you know,
Yes,
be in
yes,
the car
yes.
with me. Or actually come to work with me. Okay. No, that's no patience. People think I have patience. I do, I do my best, but it's not there. And the flat effect, which is going through emotions without joy or interest or engagement, right? Um, so what are your thoughts on that, cousin Kareem? What are you thinking about those signs of functional grief?
Oh, I'm all of those. I believe I'm all of those as well. It's just when you're in a constant state of grief,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes you become numb to even wanting to try to explain it to yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you just accept it. You accept that this is going to be a way of life. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
have to walk with it. I'm going to have to handle it. And I'm not going to explain myself. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like, because for me personally, I got to a point of like, if you don't understand by what I said, the first part a week ago, and this is the second time, third time you come to me like, do you need to talk more? It's like, get out my face. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you can't empathize, well, let's go to that word, empathy. People don't know how to empathize. They think sympathy is empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've like literally cursed people out and be like, why don't you look, you have a phone, put it in Google, look up definition. Stop being stupid. At this point, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. You can say ignorance is bliss. No, ignorance is bliss. You got a phone. Use your phone and look up the word. If you don't know what it means, stop being stupid. And that makes me, then that gets me to another level of anger, because
Right.
stupidity, there's no other word but to say it's just stupid. You can't keep blasting. I don't know what it means. It's like,
I swear
but
the next, I don't know. This will continuously go on. This podcast will always go on, but I think I might start another one and call that The World According to Auntie Mimosa, because there are just some things that people do, and I just look at them like,
why?
did
Like, why?
you just do it? Like, why did you do that? That didn't make any sense whatsoever. But
You like that dunce hammer, like, boink. You can just pull it out like a cartoon, and be like, boink. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? Like, really? But the functionality, that you have the functional people and you have the dysfunctional, the people who just can't move, the people who just sit back and let life pass them by, and they're like, woe is me, woe is me. And it's like, I feel like saying that too, but I only have like a day to do that. And then I realized I got bills to pay. I got
right,
people to take care of.
stuff to
You know
do.
what I mean? Like, I want
So
to keep my job,
right,
career.
that right. So definitely, definitely. So my suggestion is, like, when you are at work or you're in work, or definitely, like I said, give your grief a name, recognize it. They have EAP programs, the employment assistance programs, where you can, talk to a therapist or a psychiatrist about what you're feeling and what you're going through. Now, I don't know if this is still in existence today, but pre the pandemic,
Hmm.
employers were starting to implement like meditation rooms or quiet rooms for employees to go into when they were feeling super stressed and or was experiencing a moment or what have you. So I have no idea if these things still exist to this day. So, but with work, here's a suggestion, like try they call the 3D rule, right? Delay, delegate, and diminish. So, delay what isn't urgent, delegate what can be shared, and diminish the scope where possible. So, and that requires asking, a trusted colleague to be your checkpoint, somebody who can quietly reality check your workload or step into a meeting if a grief moment hits, right? Like I said, if your company has leave, you have FMLA, you have the EAP, flex options if they offer that, and it's reasonable to use them. Um, and or like build a 90-second reset, right? Step away from what you're doing, breathe slowly, like in for 4, out for 6, sip on some water, go to the bathroom, splash your wrist with water, splash your face, and then re-enter. Like pull, do your best to pull yourself together if you can do that. So, and like I said, with functional grief and what that looks like, right, on the outside is outward functioning, inward pain, right? Someone may appear okay on the outside, like working, socializing, staying busy, but still carrying deep sorrow, emptiness, a longing, right? A longing. The risks of functional grief is like others may assume that you are doing fine and do not offer support. And the griever, right? The person grieving may delay fully processing emotions, which can prolong or even complicate grief later. And then there's the physical health, right? You can suffer stress, fatigue, or suppressed emotions continue to accumulate. So they say stress is the silent killer, right? Don't mess around and and unalive yourself, giving yourself a heart attack, right? Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So let's talk about like grief with parents and parenting. So we all know grief gets layered, right? It is layered. It is layered on top of layer, on top of layer, on top of layer. Grief is layered because we as people have no control over when someone transitions and how many transitions there are that we experience in a year, 6 months, 2 months, 2 weeks. Okay. So for parents, right, you're carrying your loss while trying to be present with your children, right?
Yeah.
And again, name it out loud for your children, like I said, in kid-sized language, right? Mommy or daddy's heart is sad today because I'm missing grandma, or I'm missing my mom, I'm missing my grandma, I'm missing my brother, right? And you're teaching your children that feelings aren't dangerous. You're teaching your children how to communicate their feelings, and that's something that should always be done. is communicating having your children communicate their feelings, right?
Yeah.
And it creates like small anchors, right? So you could do like a memory moment or a memory minute while eating dinner. Um, at bedtime, you could do a check-in, high, low, and say one memory. How are you feeling? Let's share memory before you go to bed about grandma, grandpa, auntie, brother, sister, whoever, right? Or you can do what's called a feelings basket, and that's with crayons and a notebook, right?
Never heard of that one. That's good.
Yeah, have them create, have them draw a color what their feelings look like. And uh like if school, and of course most children do go to school, right? They go to school. They're not homeschooled, right? If they're not homeschooled, then send a brief note to a teacher or counselor or email and say our family is grieving, you know, uh, quiet support helps, meaning they don't have to announce it to the world that your child or family is grieving a loss, right? For teens, invite the choice, like, want company or space. You know what I'm saying? Um, and for the little ones, just keep routine steady and give them something to do. Give them a job, right? Place the flower, buy a photo, pick in the song, in the car, so they don't feel alienated in that process. Because sometimes parents have a tendency to alienate their kids when they're going through grief themselves. It's like you forget you have somebody else to take care of, or two people, or three, or four, or how many other children you have that you have to take care of. And they depend on you as the parent. So a lot of times what takes place is that in parenting, we have to pull ourselves back together to take care of the little people that are dependent on us. Now, some people can pull it together faster than others. For some, it takes them a little while to do. It takes them a little while to do it. So, any comments or suggestions you have, Cousin Kareem, when it comes to parenting and grief?
Let them know something that my wife did when her aunt passed is a lot of times uh, she would go to my little ones and she would say thank you, for them doing their quirky little dances, or you know what I mean, or just being them. And it's like, you made me laugh, thank you, I needed to laugh, at this time because I'm not feeling good. And it was like you said, the sharing portion, like not ignoring them, but letting them know, like, hey, you know what, mommy's not feeling good because of this and that. And they understand that happened, but then just let them know that it's okay to be them in that space, that they don't have to be melancholy and sad. They can still be the little jokey kid selves, especially for those pre-teens. Even for the teens, they can still be that and not have to feel like they have to dumb it down because mommy's not, is grieving, or daddy's grieving, or whatever, And I think that's a good part. Like you said, let them know, hey, my advice is let the kids know that they can still be kids.
Right.
And not have to
grow up too fast.
Late what you're doing. Learned behavior is a thing in parenting. And unless I believe that you do say this be you, you don't have to do what mommy or daddy's doing at this moment. Then they might take on that thing. Oh, this is how I'm supposed to act when somebody passes on. I'm supposed to grab a bottle and start sipping. I'm supposed to chain smoke or whatever, But they start to look for, how do I deal with this situation? I really don't understand. So, I just think that letting the kids know you can still be you in that fun kid way makes for a learning experience.
Yes. Yes, it does. It does. And that is absolutely correct. And I would say the other thing when it comes to parenting and navigating through grief and navigating through everyday life is that, and I say this to parents all the time, you have to remember that the little person that you're raising, that little individual, is not only just your child. That person that you are rearing or raising, you're raising them to be somebody's husband or wife. So teaching them to communicate early allows for them to become a better communicator as adults, or an effective communicator as an adult. Okay. And allowing them to share their feelings. It allows them to do that as adults, as healthy adults. So with that, we're going to move on to socially, right? So socially, navigating your social life, right, through grief. Your energy is precious. Let me tell you, it is so precious. It's okay to decline. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say yes and leave halfway through. So, and some people have a hard time with that. You have some people that are yes people because they want to be there for everybody and everything. They don't know how to say no, even if they are grieving. Um, and they think they have to stay through the whole entire event, or stay at the club, or stay at the picnic, or stay wherever, whatever event is going on. They have to stay the full time. But understand, you can dismiss yourself quietly without alarming or alerting anyone, um, not unless that's what you want to do, um, in order to, go back home and to be in your own peace and to be in your own world. So when it comes to socializing, there's what they call a 2-text rule, right? Try the 2-text rule. The first text is thank you for thinking of me. Yes, no, right? Short stay. 2, if I ghost, I'm okay. Just reach my limit, right? So the first text you're sending to someone, if someone sends you a text message inviting you out for the evening, you can say thanks, send them a text message back. Thanks for thinking of me. And you can either reply yes, no, or let them know you're going to do a short stay, right? The second text message is to say, if I ghost, I'm okay. Just reached my limit. And that's letting them know, like, okay, listen, I might be there, or I'll be there, but I'm gonna tap out and gotta go because I can't handle this right now. Right?
Right.
So, and then if you can, appoint a grief buddy, so to speak, like somebody who understands, overstands, like a quick code word that means time to tap out. Okay. And remember, like, it's not that I'm not up for that yet, and please keep me inviting me. Of course, that keeps the door open without pressure. That lets people know that you want to participate. Um, and because we're in a place where I believe we're in a place where with people, like if you keep inviting someone something, or you keep calling somebody and they never return your phone calls, or they never return your text messages, you're like, you know what? I don't have time for this, right? And I always say people do what they want to do all day long, whether it's returning a phone call, spending time with you, uh, texting, whatever, however the communication goes. People do what they want to do when it comes to you. And when it comes to grieving, I know there are times when I would tell people I can't do this today. I can't do it. I don't want to do it.
So let me ask you a question. Not to cut you off, but
go ahead.
At a point of friendship, like you got your circle, right? Where does the responsibility fall back on the friendship to say, okay, maybe this person deals with abandonment, and now this person who they just lost or has went on. I'm saying they ain't losing; they know exactly where they are. But they went on. Maybe that person, to them, they're the person who's grieving is going through a sense of abandonment. You as a friend now say, hey, I feel I should invite these people out so they don't feel abandoned. Forgetting that maybe a social setting or the mindset of that person being an introvert isn't what they need. Now, if it was an extrovert, extroverts like to be around a lot of people. But if you're an introvert, it's kind of the opposite. And being a friend, you should know that about your friend, that they're an introvert. So maybe inviting them to social functions isn't the way, because you're just exasperating the situation now. Because now they gotta feel, now the person who's grieving's gotta feel like, if I don't go, then I'm ostracizing the person who's inviting me. Even though I said thank you for the invite, but I think I'm just gonna stay home.
Well, that's where healthy friendship comes in.
Yeah,
that's where healthy. Right, that's where healthy friendships come in. That's where setting your boundaries will come in, and that's where those that you call your friends in your circle know you, and they know how to maneuver with you and what's good. Whether you're, and they have this what are all these new terms now: introverted, extroverted, extroverted, introverted,
ambivert.
With being neurodivergent, ADHD, depending on where you are on the spectrum with ADHD. So it's about knowing your circle, knowing who you are. Okay. Now in my later years, I am now an introverted extrovert. Before
ambivert, what they call it.
Right. So earlier I was definitely an extrovert 100%. Now I'm very much the introvert extrovert, or would you call it a who?
An ambivert.
Ambivert. Okay.
That's what the kids are calling it.
Ambivert. I can stay home for real. I really can. I have no problem staying.
I know what home is. It's comfortable. Thank you.
Very much so. I have no problem staying home. Yeah. However, when I do go out, when I am asked to come out, I will go out. And of course I have to not judge, but I have to take a good survey of my surroundings before I start to open up and feel the energy, before I start to like really open up and come out of my quote unquote shell. However, again, it's your buddies. I have called my sister friend and my sister in North Carolina and said, call me in 30 minutes so I could leave this event. I have.
That's back in the days action. When you're on a date and you don't want to be, you don't know how the date's going to turn out. So you got your alternate, like, yo, hit me up. And really? Oh, emergency? Oh, sorry.
No offense to you. I have done that. I have called and said, either text me or call me in 30 minutes so I could leave this event. I've done that. Yes. Because it wasn't a matter of me not wanting to be there. It was just a matter of me saying, yes, I would be there. I went and I didn't, I'm not going to say I don't like to hurt people's feelings, disappoint. But I show up where I can. And there were times like, especially, you know, back in 20, like that whole year from 2020, March, May, my brain, May of 2021, all the way through probably the end of 2022. I really did not do anything. There was no coming out. There really wasn't any coming out. And if I did, it was really short. It was like, okay, I had enough, gotta go. See you. I'm going home. I have pulled up, I have driven to events, pulled up, parked, took a deep breath, put the car back in drive, and came back home.
Been there, done that.
Yep.
Man, done that. As you get to a certain part of your life where that's, you know, this is another topic. It's like when grieving gives you a sense of clarity. You know, when you're like, the things that you were doing before, all of a sudden it's like not that important no more.
Right.
And then it's like, especially when you get to our age group, you start, people that you knew, associates, maybe not friends, but associates, start dropping off. There's randomly, oh, that person had and you like, you know, Facebook is good with that one. So passed away. Like, you know, I had no idea. Like, I lost one of my best friends calling. I think I talked about this last week. I was calling him to talk about my other friend who just passed away. He didn't answer. The wife, who I didn't technically meet, but knew of, and she knew of me, calls me back, realized that his phone had messages, called me back like an hour later, was like, oh, he passed away. On Memorial Day. And it's like, well, all, you know, it's just like, so I'm grieving somebody else, and now, you know, now I double grieve. You know what I mean? It was just like,
yeah,
what is going on? And then when you hit that point in life where you're like, my friends are now starting to drop, to pass, you know, now you start looking at time in a different time management of things that you were supposed to do become more evident, you know.
Yes, grief does give you clarity. It does give you clarity. It does allow you the opportunity to figure out what's important to you, what's not important to you. It does give you the opportunity to put certain things on the forefront that's important to you. It does that. So I can say that, like, you know, navigating grief means giving yourself permission to participate socially at your own pace. I'm going to say that again. Navigating grief gives you, now I can't get it out. Navigating grief means giving yourself permission to participate at your own pace and letting your village know how to walk beside you and what's important to you, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what it is. All day. That's exactly what it is, you know? And then, of course, you know, there's always like small practices or small things that you can do. Like I said, with work, it's delay, delegate, and diminish, right? We said in parenting, you know, that is about just talking your feelings out to your children and having your children talk their feelings out to you, right? Color, you know, check in with the school teacher, the counselor, just to let them know the family is grieving in case that child acts out. And then, like we said, with social life, boundaries. Boundaries are important. I cannot tell you how important boundaries are. And that's with anything, not just the socializing, but boundaries are important in every aspect. Aspect of life. I have a gnat in here along with my plants. So the next thing is like finding meaning in the ordinary, right? Finding meaning in the ordinary. So, in time, the very things that sting can become or begin to hold a meaning, right? A garden can become a memorial. A recipe can become a way of remembering. A daily walk can become a conversation with someone that's no longer here or present, right?
Yeah.
Okay. For myself, it's cooking. My kitchen.
That's your sanctuary.
That is my sanctuary. That is where I call on, as I say, I call on my ancestors. I call on those that have passed away and, have made their transitions when I step in that kitchen. My grandmother, my mother, my Aunt Hannah, um, yeah, I call on them, my Uncle Wes, you know what I'm saying? The great cooks of the family. I
Yeah.
call on them when I'm in that kitchen. It's like I summon them all. Um, yeah, I do. I do. And when I'm in my creative space, when I'm creating, I call on Deej because he was a creator. He played the guitar, he's self-taught guitarist, guitar player and drums. So I call on him there for creating when I'm creating. Sometimes I just sit and talk to him out loud. And of course, I have photos of him all over the place. So, I'll just look at him and go, all right, what we doing today? Where we at? Like, mom needs you, you know? Um, but the meaning isn't about like moving on. It's about moving with, right? It's
Yeah.
about moving with. And grief doesn't shrink, but in our own capacity to carry it, it grows, right? It does grow. And life doesn't go back to what we say is normal. It becomes new. It's a newness. It's a new normal where our loved ones remain part of our story and not just our past, right? I'm going to say that again. Grief doesn't shrink, but our capacity to carry it grows, right?
Yeah.
Life doesn't go back to normal. It becomes new. It becomes new. There is a new normal where our loved ones remain part of our story and not just our past. Okay. And that is very true. That is very true because I can tell you I am not the same woman. I'm not the same person. That's right.
No,
That's
it's true. If you
right.
don't know,
I'm not the same person.
it all ties into for me. Like if you don't
Mhm.
know your past and you don't know where you're going, so knowing these what you said is like not they're not it's not they're not your past. They're a continuation of your future because they're guiding
Mhm.
you now. All of their trials and tribulations, not all of them, but the ones that you knew about and know about,
Mhm.
those are what's going to guide you on in the future.
Mhm.
So they're always going to be there for you, and to be in the spiritual, that's what it really means. I mean, yeah,
Definitely. And there are ways. I mean, there's a host of ways and gentle ways to weave meaning into everyday life, right?
mhm.
There's micro rituals, like as and I've said this before, light a candle during Sunday coffee or play a favorite song, play their song while folding laundry, wear their favorite color on important days, right? Um
Music, the ultimate time machine. That's what I say.
yeah, it is. It is. So, like for example, um after my grandmother transitioned, she had a set of black pearls, right? Every time I go on a job interview, I wear her black pearls. Where most people would wear white pearls, most women, I would say, they go on a job interview, they wear white pearls. I wear her black pearls on my job interviews. So that's my way of taking her with me, you know. Um, there's memory in motion, right? Memory in motion. A weekly walk on their favorite route if you still live in the same town in the same area. Volunteering an hour doing something they cared about. That's the way of bringing a small kindness into the world in their name, right? Uh, kitchen echoes. What I just say, right? Kitchen echoes. Make their favorite dish once a month, or write notes on recipe cards. Like today, it tasted like summer, or this is so and so's granny's recipes, mom's recipes, whatever. Touchstones like a bracelet, a keychain, a pebble in your pocket, or a stone, something in your pocket, tiny reminders that you can reach for when a wave hits. Like I said, I don't have it on today, but like I said, I have that dragon pendant urn, right? With Jesus ashes in it. And I wear that every day. And people be like, "Oh my gosh, I like your dragon." I go, "Yeah, well, my son's ashes in there." And they're like, "What?" Yes. Yes, he's with me all day, every day, every day. Um, do a living project, and like with touchstones, that's important because especially like with men and women, their jewelry, you might have your dad's ring or your dad's pendant or for what do you call cufflinks or tie pin or something that your dad may have worn. He may have had a lapel pin that he wore that now belongs to you and you wear it. For the women, like it's a jewelry, earrings. These are my grandmother's earrings. I have my grandmother's earrings on. I wear these every day. So she's always with me. DJ's always with me. And I know my mom is always in the car with me. You know what I'm saying? So, and I have, items in my car that remind me of her, but I always know that's where everybody's at, always. So, living projects, right? A potted plant from the funeral home, from the funeral flowers, a scholarship jar for a local kid, or a photo book labeled with stories in their handwriting. Like if you can, I have a note. In my mother's actual writing. I think I have a note or a document with my grandmother's actual handwriting. I have something with Deej as well with his handwriting, with his signature on it.
That's interesting. You said it. I wonder. So that's important to you. I really, in a day and age of like getting rid of script, writing in cursive, for those of us who still teach our kids cursive or grandkids cursive, some people want to keep that alive. I like that, and you just touched me with something because the sentiment of writing a love letter to your child, it just made me think about that. Just in the time of grieving, a love letter to your child, when you go on, can be something that definitely inspires them, especially if in that love letter you're giving your guiding principles of wisdom as well as love, which love is supposed to actually embody all of that. But you know what I mean? It's like that could be, as I'm listening to you, that's a sense of grace for the grief.
It is, and it's nostalgic. So on TikTok, one of my followers and a good friend, we met back in the day. She says that she has her grandmother's Bible with her writings and bookmarks and church programs in it. And I know I had given Deej like one of my Bibles that had like a lot of markings and stuff in it, and somehow or another he lost it, and that broke my heart because I had so many of past family obituaries in that Bible, and it was just I don't know what he did with that Bible. I don't know if anybody even paid attention when they were cleaning out the house to even know, how sentimental that that Bible was to me. You know, um, you know, yeah. I got you, Yolanda. I didn't want to use your real name, babe. um, but yeah. Um, but also digital keepsakes. That's a new thing now, right? A shared album, a voice note to you, like a folder of voice notes to you folder in your phone or saved to your laptop or tablet or whatever, and an email address where you send letters when words pile up, right? So speaking of digital, that the digital keepsakes, right? I have one. I have two, actually. I have the scanned barcode, and I should have brought that. I have a scanned barcode with Deej's song on it, and it's on a bark, and you can scan the QR code. And I have a message from my grandmother on that she left me a voice message, and she was like, "Hey, I missed you. I love you. All right, bye bye." And I think that's what she says. Hang on, I'm gonna grab it real fast. Hang on.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of those things that people sell now, and it's really good, especially the digital picture frames. You can use those to memories, pass those down.
Right. So this is what it says. It says, "I miss you this morning. Where are you?" So this is my grandmother's voice.
You got to back up a little bit.
I'm back. I'm trying to.
Nope.
Where is it? It was just in frame, but this is my grandmother's voice. I don't know if it's. I can't. It won't. It was. You just saw it. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Uh-oh. So this is my grandmother's voice, right? If I scan the QR code here in the corner, it'll play her voice, right? It'll play her voice so I can hear her voice. And then this is Darius's. If I scan the QR code on this, it'll play his song that he wrote. So I can hear their voice. So those are the two things that I have with that. And my mom, I didn't know about those because of course my mom, she transitioned way before I found those, but I wish I had found those when she transitioned because I would have held on to her voice. And I probably have one of her voice messages saved somewhere. I just have to look for it I don't know if it's in my phone or like in one of my audios that's saved. I probably have one. I just have to like deep dive for it. So before we close out, just I want to let everybody, let you know that finding meaning in the ordinary, right? Meanings equal movement or moving with, not moving on. Like grief may not shrink, but the capacity to carry it grows, right? Then you have your micro rituals, like we said, lighting a candle with a morning drink, or even drinking your favorite, your person's favorite drink in the morning. If they like coffee, if they like tea, if I know my grandmother liked that Bustelo, that is, it's like a Spanish coffee. She loved that. So I know I have some in my cabinet. Wear their favorite color on a specific day of the week to make you feel better, right? Memory and motion. Take a walk on their morning route if you still live in that area, or if you're in that area. Or like they say, one small kindness in their name. Volunteer, I don't know, feed the homeless, do something nice, right? Go Meals on Wheels, do something in their honor. Kitchen Echoes, make their favorite meal once a month. Jot a note on a card. This is tasted like summer, or create their favorite recipe, or write their, find it and write it and do it. And then there's the touchstones, right? Bracelets, keychains, something that belongs to them. You keep it with you all the time when that wave of grief hits, that keeps you grounded. Living projects, plants from the funeral home. Let me tell you, I have three lilies. I have four. Well, not four lilies. I have three lilies, right? One from my grandmother, one from my mother, one from my stepfather, and then I have a ZZ plant for Deej. So I have four plants, and each one is, and that's what their names are. The ZZ plant is Darius. One of the lilies is my dad Jimmy. The other lily is my grandmother Mildred, and the other one is Shirley. That's them. Okay, all day long. When it comes to my plants, and I mean, you've seen in my garden. I mean, I call it my forest. It has grown. It has grown. I can't turn the camera to show you, but it has grown. It really has. Look, I can show the TikTok fam that my forest over there in the corner that's my plants in loving memory of my garden, you know. But yeah, they can see it. But those are the things to do to keep yourself grounded with your loved ones, and if you can do it, it's like a 1 minute do a 1 minute exercise, right? Pick one everyday object, a mug, a scarf, a pen, if it held a memory, and what would you place it? Put it in, do that, write a sentence in a journal. Journaling is very important, and I believe it is time for me to start journaling because, like I said, I just won a shadow work journal, so that might be telling me it's time to do that work, and or either host it. Look around you, pick one everyday object, and it can hold, and make sure it holds that memory of that person. And like I said, in one sentence, if it's enough, right? That's what would you place in it, right?
Yeah.
And that's how meanings really begin. Small, true, and repeated. And it's not the meaning is not to replace the person. It's weaving them into the fabrics of our everyday life, right? And the things that sustain us. So, in
the journals, would you date it, the date that you made your entries?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important. You should always date and time your entries when you're, making a journal, writing a journal. Yeah, always. So, any closing remarks on this as we wrap up?
Keeping your loved ones that you're grieving after alive, and the things that you do and the events that you have in your life, or the purposeful things that you do, like the cooking, the drawing, the journaling, playing the music. It's the benefit.
It is.
It keeps them, it keeps them going. If you have little people, and like I said, it gives them a learned behavior of how to handle this emotional time that doesn't really have a time frame to escape. Escaping the grief. Yeah, there's no time frame for them. So yeah, keeping them alive, keeping them not alive, but keeping them with you in the events that you partake in is a good way to deal with and carry on.
Right. It is. It is.
Not carry it on to get away, but carry it on to relieve pain. That's the
right. And of course, we always remember, as we always, or please remember, as we always say, one, grief is not an interruption in life. It's life inside love, right? You're not broken. You're carrying something sacred, right?
Yeah.
And this week I invite you to notice one small way grief shows up, welcome it, breathe, name it, and let it point to the love that remains for your loved one, right? Let it do that. Okay. Let it do that. Let it do that. So with that, I say, thank you for spending your time with us today here on Sometimes We're Bougie, Sometimes We Hood. If this episode helped, share it with a friend who might need it. If you're not, and you're not alone in this journey, there's no timeline. We always say this in the opening and the ending. With grief, there is no rule book. There is no timeline. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. We are here to help you honor your feelings, embrace the memories, and allow space to heal in your own time. Okay? And, with that, the language to borrow or to hold on to as we close is I'm carrying grief and doing my best. Here's what I can deliver this week. My heart is sad today because I miss whomever. I'm not up for that today. Please keep inviting me. Okay. So remember those. So please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you, your reflections, your rituals, the road you travel. You can connect with us on Instagram with Queen of Life Empowerment and Sometimes We Bougie, or SBSH Grief Podcast, right? TikTok, the Sometimes We Bougie and Hood. You can always email us at Sometimes We're Bougie, Sometimes We Hood, all one word, straight across at Gmail. Okay. And you can always reach out to us and let us know in ways, topics that you would like us to talk about and discuss. Because as we say, grief happens in every single aspect of your life. So until next time, be kind to yourself, hold space for your emotions, and remember, you do not have to walk this road in silence or alone. Your love and your light still matters. So remember, take gentle care and breathe. Good night.
Good night. Take care.
It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembering.